Coincidences come in many shapes and forms, such as those moments where you think about a friend or relative, and before you know it, they're calling or messaging you. Or like when you're thinking of a song you haven't heard for a while, only for it to play on the radio soon after. Unfortunately, not all coincidences are so innocent, and one such example of this is the curious case of the carbon copy murders. The first of the murders took place in 1817, with the second taking place exactly 157 years later, in 1974. When looking at these two unsolved murder cases separately, although both equally tragic, nothing immediately seems strange. It's only when you actually look into the details and compare the two cases side by side that a tragic series of coincidences is revealed. The 1974 case involved a young woman by the name of Barbara Forrest, who was a 20-year-old brunette woman from the suburb of Erdington, Birmingham, in the United Kingdom. On the 26th of May 1974, Barbara had been out dancing in the city centre, celebrating the bank holiday with her boyfriend Simon. They stayed out late, and at the end of the night Simon escorted Barbara to a nearby bus stop at around 1 AM. He then went on to another stop to catch a bus back to Moseley where he lived. It's unclear what happened to Barbara after that point. When questioned, none of the other passengers on the number 67 bus she was due to catch could recall seeing her, and Barbara never made it home that night. Sadly, 8 days later her body was found in Pipe Hayes Park, close to where she lived. Investigators found she had been sexually assaulted and then strangled in the early hours of May 27th. Theories that she'd been abducted or had been attacked after getting off the bus were posed, but the most convincing theory was that she had been given a lift from someone she knew. After an appeal from the press and inquiries by the police, a witness came forward to report a blue car that had been parked near where Barbara's body had been found, which coincided with her time of death. Michael Thornton, someone who had worked with Barbara, was identified as the prime suspect in the case. At the hearing at Birmingham Crown Court, it was heard that Mr. Thornton's alibi had been falsified, and also that bloodstains were found on his trousers. However, a week into the trial he was found not guilty and acquitted on the basis of insufficient evidence. Either Mr. Thornton got away with murder, or the true killer was never identified. The other case took place exactly 157 years before Barbara Forrest's murder. Mary Ashford, a 20-year-old brunette from Erdington, along with her friend Hannah Cox, had been out at the Whitsuntide dance at the Tyburn House Inn on the 26th of May 1817. At the dance, Mary met a Mr. Abraham Thornton, and Hannah made acquaintance with a Mr. Benjamin Carter. The four of them stayed until the dance ended at midnight. Mary's body was discovered the following morning in the nearby Pipe Hayes Park. She had been sexually assaulted and then killed, dying in the early hours of the 27th of May. Although her body was found in a flooded pit, evidence indicated that her death was caused by strangulation before the body was thrown into the water. The main suspect was the man she had been with the night before, Mr. Abraham Thornton. He was charged with the murder and stood trial on 2 separate occasions due to an appeal and a retrial, but ultimately, Mr. Thornton was found not guilty and acquitted. Again, either this Mr. Thornton got away with murder, or the true killer was never identified. It's been said that both women had a sort of premonition of their fate, both making predictions that they were in for some bad luck, or had a bad feeling for things to come. While it's very possible that they did, it's hard to prove beyond doubt. So let's just focus on the facts. Both women were 20 years old. Both were brunette and lived in Erdington. Both had been out dancing the night before their death. meeting their demise in the early hours of the 27th of May. They were both sexually assaulted before being killed, more than likely of strangulation in Mary's 1817 case, and definitely in Barbara's 1974 case. Their bodies were both left in Pipe Hayes Park, within 300 yards of each other. Both men accused were ultimately acquitted due to lack of evidence, and both of them were called Mr. Thornton. These crimes were committed 157 years apart, exactly to the day. Perhaps one of Birmingham's darkest examples of history repeating itself.